Good. Thank you so much, Haley. And welcome everybody to our session today. ChatGPT is something that we hear about and are most likely using on a day-to-day basis. So we really want to make sure that you have a good understanding as to what exactly the program is and some different things that you need to be aware of when it comes to using that application. And then we'll get through some examples of how you can be using ChatGPT. So if you do download the handout will give you some information in regards to what exactly is ChatGPT at the very beginning. ChatGPT really is an application that you can open and have an account set up directly online. There are different versions of ChatGPT. There is a free version, which is more for individuals to use, but there are some business accounts as well. And one of the difficulties with the free version is the fact that you don't have access to the most current information, which we'll be getting into a little bit of what I mean by that. Also, you can end up not being able to get into the application. Um, it is something that if you try and get in, there may be too many users in the free account, so you might not be able to get in. But there is a paid for version, which is called the Plus version. There's some additional things coming with that plus version these days that I'll walk you through a little bit. We do have a Teams version now. So that is $25 a month versus the $20 a month that the regular ChatGPT Plus is. There also is an enterprise version. So if you're in an organization and you're going to have multiple users, you're going to be better off going with the enterprise version of ChatGPT to make sure that everybody in your organization will be able to utilize that. Now, we'll talk a little bit about some things as an organization to be considering, though, if you're going to be using, especially the enterprise version, or you're going to let your coworkers use ChatGPT at work. There's some things that we'll kind of discuss towards the end of our session today, just to make sure that you're aware of. But what exactly is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is an app that we open online. You can use it in a lot of different other applications now as well. Microsoft, of course, has Copilot, and we'll be doing more sessions coming up here in Copilot, of course. Copilot in Teams, of course, was one of those that Haley had just mentioned. But when it comes to using ChatGPT, it uses what is referred to as a large language model. It's actually been taught certain information, but the way that it processes the information today is very different from when it was released. It's actually been out over a year. It was actually launched on November 30th of 2022. So it has been out for quite a while now. And it has changed, of course, over that time period. And we can actually access information that is as current as today, and I'll explain how you would do that. But the application itself, depending on the updates that you have, you can be getting information out of it that is current up to December of 23, all the way up to December of 23. There is now a turbo version of ChatGPT that has been released. If you don't already have that, which I don't have that just yet on my ChatGPT, I haven't gotten to that update yet, but I do have it available through my Windows 11. Using Bing, I can use my ChatGPT Turbo. Turbo gives you the latest updates, but we have kind of a way around that now because it uses the artificial intelligence to answer the questions that we prompt it. And so we'll be getting into exactly what is a prompt and how do you work with a prompt and what is a good prompt to use. We'll be kind of doing some demonstrations of what exactly all that means. But what happens in this application is it really takes the information that it has been taught and it processes it so that when we are prompting the system with questions and different things, it uses that large language model to output the results. And the results that we actually get are a human-like response, although it is a system that we are using. But just to keep things in the back of your mind, especially when it comes to working with this as a business tool, it cannot predict the future. So it's not going to be able to say, what do we expect to happen with, you know, this type of code in, 2 more years. It doesn't do anything political, and it's not always going to be 100% accurate. You always want to make sure that you're doing some fact checking, make sure that the information is relevant. You also want to be concerned with, don't take everything just directly out of chat, copy and paste it and use it. You want to put your own spin on things. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we start talking about prompts, when we kind of do a few examples. So what exactly can we do with ChatGPT? ChatGPT can be used for so many different things. I'm giving you just a few examples, and I have, of course, some examples laid out in your handout as well. So it can be used for fact checking. It could be used for creating drafts. So if you have, and this is something that I use it for on a very regular basis, is if I'm going to be writing something brand new, I can provide the information to the chat and have it generate an output for me based on the information that I provide it. That's how we prompt it. So we'll get into, of course, doing some of that. But I'm also using it to check the information that I already have. So if I have a paragraph of data or I have an entire document that I want ChatGPT to analyze for me and see if we need to rewrite it, or help me to rewrite it, it can do all of that. And we'll see some examples of using files within ChatGPT. We'll also see how to generate files in ChatGPT and generate images, because it can do document editing. It can do summarizations of your documents. It has a lot built in working with documents. We can do language translation, all kinds of different things. But one thing that I've been using it for quite a bit lately is I do a lot of macros and a little bit of VBA code. I personally am not a coder. I am not a programmer by any way, shape, or form. ChatGPT has been my tool that I go to say, I need VBA code that's going to do this. And I give it the details. It can generate the code for me, and then I can copy and paste it and then make my necessary changes that if I'm having it saved to a specific, SharePoint site or whatever is going to be part of my code, I can make my necessary changes, but it's going to give me the foundation of what that code is so I don't have to write it. So it can help us with a lot of different types of code, not just the very basics of VBA, but it can take you a lot further than that. It can also help you with improving customer service. So we'll see some examples on that. We'll also see some examples on marketing options that you can be using ChatGPT for, improving product and service offerings as well, going along with kind of the customer service side of things or the sales and marketing side of your organization as well. I did mention the language translation. I use that quite often as well. We have email and communication tools that can also be used. But keep in the back of your mind, if you already have Copilot with Microsoft 365, some of these you can be using directly through Copilot. You don't have to go to ChatGPT to use it. You can be going right to your Microsoft app, and Copilot is the ChatGPT, but it's Microsoft's version of using ChatGPT directly within those specific applications. But a lot of times people are using ChatGPT also for idea generation and brainstorming. If we need to come up with some new ideas, some new ways of doing things, this is a great tool to use for that. I am kind of shocked at all the different times. There's so many times that I go to ChatGPT when before I'd have to kind of be creative on my own. Now I'm kind of going to ChatGPT now to have it help me or assist me in generating all my information for my company. Um, I do it a lot. I use ChatGPT a lot for my training now, because if I need to come up with a quiz, I'll have companies that I do training for, and I'll do an Excel class, and then all of a sudden they want us to test the students to make sure that what they were taught in the class, they grasp it. We can be doing quizzes and different things like that built through ChatGPT. But one of the biggest uses that myself and a lot of organizations use it for is human resources. It is amazing how wonderful this can be to help us with human resources. It can help us with writing job descriptions. It can help us in writing interview questions. All kinds of tools can be used for the job market. Okay, so let's get into what exactly is ChatGPT. I came into the actual website. The web address, if you don't have an account for ChatGPT already, you can go to chat.ai.com. The web address is going to be chat.openai.com. So chat.openai.com. You would be prompted to set up an account. You can choose to have the plus version. Plus version is going to give you the most latest updates. You could do the teams, or if your whole organization, you could do the enterprise, or just start out with that free version, as I mentioned. So what you are seeing when you come into the application is there's some new features. So if you're not familiar with these new features, I just want to cover these real quickly. So on the left-hand side is the navigation pane, where you're going to see a history of your previous chats. So as you can see under mine, these are the previous 30 days. Here's some things I did back in March, some things I did back in February. Now, of course, we can manage those historical chats. They can be shared with your coworkers. They can be shared with anybody that you want to share them with, but you can delete them as well. So if you know you're not going to come back to that chat and need to review it or anything or continue the conversation, you can always delete it. An example of doing that would be if you go to the chat itself. When you hesitate on the name of the chat, you're going to get a ... menu for more. When you click on more, you have the capability of sharing, renaming, or you can delete the chat. If you click share, by the way, this is something that I do use on a pretty regular basis. You can actually send a link to a coworker or someone based on the conversation that you were having. So at the bottom right, you can click copy link. You can put that link wherever you need it, whether it's going to be in an email, it's going to be on OneNote notebook, whatever you need to do, just so you know you can share it so that they can go back and see this is what your original prompt was. Here's what the results were throughout that conversation. But something else that I want to point out real quick at the bottom left of the screen, you're going to see where it now says add team workspace. That would be part of the team version of ChatGPT. So if I click on that add team workspace, you can see on the right-hand side that I could click add team workspace. You can then give the workspace a name, and you and one other person can have access to that workspace so that everything that you're looking up, and this would be an example of using this. Let's say that I'm actually working on a project, and our project is going to be that we're going to be doing some sandblasting in a specific area, and we're going to be distributing the sand to different organizations because they use it for building products and whatever their case might be. We could have two people have access to all of the chats that were a part of that workspace. That's a very brief introduction to what all that means. There is a link on here, just so you're aware, that you can click learn more. That will give you some more information on how that would work to see if it would be beneficial for you to actually upgrade to that account. Now, I'm not going to do anything with that today. I'm going to go ahead and close that. So just so you know, that's at the bottom left. Something else that I want you to be aware of that is highly recommended is if you go to your account. So once you have an account set up with ChatGPT, at the bottom left, if you click on your name, your account information, from that pop-up, one of the things that you definitely want to do is click customize. Well, I'll go through a couple of things. Customize ChatGPT will be one of them. What this is going to give you is at the top, it's letting you know this, I'm using the ChatGPT 4. I have browsing, the Dolly, and the code turned on. I have a check mark by each of these so that it's utilizing these additional tools in the background. So I wanted to be using the web browsing to get the results for what I'm searching for. I also wanted to be using this Dolly 3. So if I'm going to be generating images and things like that, it's going to utilize that tool. But the other part of this window is extremely important when you're working on a business side of using ChatGPT. There is these custom instructions. Custom instructions is where you can provide more information to the application about who you are. What do you do? What kind of response do you want ChatGPT to give you if you don't specify? So at the top, it says, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? Now, I just have some generic stuff in here. I have 30 years experience working with project management, so whatever you have that you would like to add in here, as soon as you click in there in that box, it's going to give you some thought starters for that. So where are you based on? What do you do for work? What are your hobbies, your interests, your subjects? What is the goals that you have? That type of information can be given to ChatGPT so it thinks about that when it's analyzing the results of what you're prompting. So highly recommend you do this. Also, how would you like ChatGPT to respond? I like it to give me a professional level response. But if I want a different tone, I can ask it that when we do the actual prompt. We'll get into a little bit of that here in just a second. But you can see the thought starters is how formal or casual should ChatGPT be? How long or short should the responses be? So if you want, every time you are asking ChatGPT and you want it to actually be a shorter response all the time, you can specify that. So you don't have to be repeating that all the time. So the more you provide in here, the better your general responses are going to be. Highly recommend doing this. Okay. Now I'm just going to click cancel. I'm going to leave my generic blurb there for right now. The other things that I want you to be aware of before we get started on doing some examples is back at my profile. When I click on my profile again, there's a settings. If I click on settings, this is referring to the theme that the program can be using. You also have your authentic, I cannot say that word today. I'm going to skip it. Not going to try again. You can manage your chats. You can delete all your chats. So if you want to get rid of everything in your history, you can do that. So just so you can see, there's some speech options, some data control options. There's also a profile builder. Those are things that you can check out on your own time, but just so you're aware of those. And then also on the left-hand side, something that has changed. And as a matter of fact, let me point this out in your book, your handout for you here. Let me find the exact page number after you have the information of going through the custom instructions, which was on page 3 of your handout. At the bottom of page 3, going to page 4, it talks about a feature called ChatGPT plugins. We used to have plugins. As of March 19th of this year, they stopped having plugins. They're no longer using plugins. What plugins used to be was we could go to the top left and we could actually add in these additional plugins, is what they were called back then. Things like Kayak, Expedia. I could add in a plugin that was related to my an attorney's office. There were different plugins that people created, individuals create, and they give them to AI and AI adds them into the system so that we could have our prompts utilize those plugins. Well, they have been revamped. They've actually been replaced with what are called GPTs. These GPTs are smarter. They have more intelligence to the backbone of them, but they still do what the old plugins did. They're utilizing other apps to provide the answers. So let me give you an example of this. If you go to the top left where it says Chat GPT, if you click on that little pencil there, that pencil, oh, sorry, I got it. I'm meant to go to Explore. I didn't mean to go to Chat GPT. If you click on Explore GPTs, that's what I meant to click on. It's going to open up the GPT's window. You have a search at the top. Otherwise, you're going to see different categories. And by the way, this is updated on a very regular basis. They keep adding more and more GPTs. So GPTs are things that you personally could create or other people create them, and they're stored out here in what is called a store. The GPT store, you can use them. So from the GPT store, which is kind of like your Microsoft store, or if you're going to your phone and you're going to download an app, and then you can use that app to do different things on your phone, these GPTs are inside tools that we can use so that when we're prompting based on its topic, it can utilize the information through that GPT. It's pretty cool. We won't get into all the backbone as to how all that works or how to create one, but they have several available. So depending on what your industry is, what it is that you're using ChatGPT for, highly recommend looking through some of these. You're going to see that it has a category for Dolly. This is where we have logo creators, we have image generators. We can do, you can actually give it using this photorealistic and a couple of the cartoon yourself. Some of these will actually take an existing photo and turn it into an animized, it's kind of like creating your avatars and different things like that, but it's taking your photo and doing it. So it's really can put it into a different type of image than your typical photo. It can create a brand new photo for you, which if you're on any social media, you've probably seen those. Unfortunately, some people are putting pictures out there. I'm in St. Pete, Florida right now, and a lot of people are putting pictures of, like the ocean and stuff like that. And we know it's generated from AI. It's not generated from, a photo that somebody actually took. So it can do that, which it's so intelligent. It helps you so much. And I'll show you some examples of how to use things like that. But it's got this writing category where it can help you do different things with writing. It's got productivity options that you can add in. It's even got an Excel GPT. It's got different research and analysis tools, helping you to build diagrams and different things. There's programming options that you can add in, education. I've had my grandson, who is 13, he needed to do some different things in math, well, algebra. He actually was using a Chat GPT add-in for that. It turned out really cool. But anyway, we have all these different options that you can do, like lifestyles. If you're going to be using, you're going to be traveling. If your organization travels, or they're going to be sending you to a conference somewhere, and you need to find airfare, you need to find hotels, whatever your accommodations needs are, you can be utilizing these tools. Now, of course, this is not the full list. There's more and more available. And like I said, they're continuously adding to this as well. So these are helper options that you can do to help narrow down exactly the response that you want to get back out of the system, what you're asking it. So I gave you some information going through page 4, at the top of page 5, talking about how to use these GPTs. But let's get into some business uses, into some examples of how we can actually be taking advantage of using ChatGPT. What I'm actually going to do is go back to the left-hand side, and I'm going to click ChatGPT. So it jumps me back to the window that we started in. On the right-hand side is where we do the chatting. And what you're going to see is how can I help you today? You're going to be given a few different prompts that you could start with if you wanted to, like brainstorming names, overcoming procrastination, make up a story. These change on a regular basis, but they're just kind of suggestions for you to get yourself going on, what kind of things should I be using ChatGPT for? So it's all about prompts. So I want to talk first a little bit about prompts before I do an example. When you go to type in your chat, let's say that I want to get some information out of ChatGPT about a business that I'm starting. And let's say that I'm going to use the example of um, 'tis the season. Let's say that I'm going to do a landscaping company and I need to get some information for my landscaping company. And first I need an invoice. If I just prompt and say, generate an invoice for me, it doesn't really understand, what all do I need in that invoice? Do I need to have a place for discounts? Do I need to have a place for taxes? What needs to be included in that invoice template? The more you give it, the more detail you provide it, the better the response is going to be. So if we ask just very generic things, like draw me a picture of a tree, it's not going to understand what kind of a tree you want. Do you want it to be based on a specific season? The more you give it, the better response you're going to get back out. Also putting in the tone for things and putting in the length, especially if you're going to have it do writing or rewriting for you. Like if I wanted to help me create an email introducing my landscaping company, my new landscaping business, I want it to be very casual. I would make sure that I put that in there. And I want it to be short and sweet. I don't want it to be, 10 pages long. I want it to be short. I could even say, like the example, in a formal 600 word essay tone, please compare the causes of World War I and World War II. That's just an example of giving it more information so that it knows how to give the response back. So tell it the tone that you want, tell it the length that you want. 100%. Otherwise, you're going to have to keep going back and re-asking more and more questions. So the more you can narrow things down for the system, the better off you're going to be in the long run. If you look that up, if you look up prompting in ChatGPT, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of websites, just so you're aware, to give you lots of information. So let's do a couple of examples. So the first one that I'm going to do is, let me go down to my message at the bottom right, and I'm going to put in, what is a team building exercise we can do with 10 people in about 15 minutes? This is something that as you're working with your coworkers, sometimes we have some conflicts and different things. So if you need to do a little team building, but you only have 15 minutes, during a meeting to do it, how do you know what you might be able to do? And I told it that it's for 10 people. So it's giving me some examples. I could split the group, divide the 10 people into 2 teams of 5, identify the problem, brainstorm solutions, share and discuss, reflect. Are there specific activities we could do? And what if it were for indoors in a conference room? I want to give it as much information as I possibly can so that when it diagrams things out for me, the response, I'm going to get the response that I truly need. So it's giving me different things, back-to-back drawing. We could do the marshmallow challenge. We could do office trivia, the perfect square. I've done that one before. There's quite a few of these that I've actually done. So let me add to this, and you can see that it's going to change the response. I'm saying this is going to be indoors and it's going to be in a conference room. I could say that it's a small conference room. It's a large conference room. Here's the materials that we have available. Whatever it is that you're giving the system, it's going to be able to give you a better response. So we could do the human knot, we could do a paper airplane contest, lots of different things you can be doing as a team building. So any little thing like that, if you need help with communication, that's actually something that I've recently done. I was working with an HR department, and they had a coworker that they were having some difficulties with. They were showing up late all the time, and they needed, kind of what are some ways that we can handle a situation like this? If I continue to chat right now in this same chat, it's continuing the same conversation. If you're going to start a brand new topic, you want to start a brand new chat. So if I go to the top left, I can click on that icon for ChatGPT again, and it's going to give me a brand new chat window. You want to keep one topic together. You don't want to mix your topics in the chat itself, because then the chat is going to get confused on what you're actually trying to do. So if I wanted to prompt it, let's do a couple of examples. Let's say that we're going to do time management things. And I wanted to actually do a summarization of Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants of time management. We can have it take an existing person that has written knowledge, has written books and, has things out there, and it can actually come back and analyze all of that because it's coming from the internet. So it's going to break things down and say, okay, the first quadrant is the urgent and important. If you've ever seen anything with Stephen Covey, he always does the bowl, and then we put different, we put the big rocks in there and put it in as priority, and then we put smaller rocks, and then we pour water or sand in there, and it fills all the gaps and stuff. So just so you can see, it's going to come back and give that information. So it can help you. And then we could even narrow it down to say, what is a training exercise we could do with our company team? I didn't spell all that correctly, but it should understand what I was asking it to do. So it will give us the information based on that topic of Stephen Covey's time management quadrants. So it's going to come back and give you some activities that you could be doing along with that. So the more you give it, the more you're going to get back out of it. Now, as you are generating these responses, that information can be shared, and or you can copy it and paste it into another application. Like if you wanted to put it in a Word document or whatever, and then you're going to kind of put your own twist on it, especially if you're going to be having it help you write something. You want to make sure that you are giving it your own spin. So if I want to have a letter that's going to go out to my customers, we can do that, but we want to make sure that we put our own spin on it, because what ChatGPT generates is written by the system. What would your company say? How would they actually do things? So you want to make sure that you are putting things into your own words. An example of that would be, let me start a new chat. I could say something like, write a letter to welcome, or let me write an email. Let me do this. Write an email to introduce our new landscaping company to the city. So we can give it whatever information it is that we're going to want it to generate back out. Now, did I give it a good prompt? Actually, no, I didn't. I said, write an email to introduce our new landscaping company. I could have given it the company name. It did give me more of a formal email. I could say, make it very casual. So it gave me, dear city community name residents, we are thrilled to introduce our company to the new neighbor of the world of professional landscaping services. I might want some of that, but I could say, rewrite this with a more casual tone. So just so you know, the more you give it on what you really want, the better the responses that you're going to get back out. We use ChatGPT a lot for marketing. Whether it's going to be for your accounting department and you need to send out a letter for somebody is late on an invoice, or here's your current invoices for the month, that kind of thing. Or you want to be saying, thank you for working with us this past year, or, thank you for being a new customer, whatever your case might be, ChatGPT can help you with that. I have had some letters that I have used for the past 10, 20 years. And I have now been going back in ChatGPT, taking my existing information and having ChatGPT analyze it and help rewrite it. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. If you have something that has already been written, if you want to have ChatGPT help you to get that information to be a little bit different, you want to get a different spin on it, or whatever the case might be, ChatGPT can help you do that. And let me actually do one here with, I'm going to actually take some information. Let me use this. So I've got a paragraph of data that I could take from a Word document as an example, and I could copy, like if I only wanted part of this information, I could take that piece of the information, put it into ChatGPT, and have it reanalyze it to see if this is actually good. So let me take a couple of, I'm going to copy and paste this into a new chat. Okay, new chat. And I'm going to paste this information and press enter. Now, I haven't asked it any information about this, but it analyzes it. I could even take the entire document, which I'll do that in just a second, but I'm going to say summarize these paragraphs. So I'm asking it to go ahead and summarize the information that I actually entered so that, oops, it didn't like my grammar. It didn't like the spelling that I had either. I typed too fast. But it can actually, so right now it's going in and it's actually going to analyze the information that I had provided. So it's telling us that it's, verbal communication. Here's some categories for written and formal. It can take whatever it is that you provided and it can analyze that. But let me actually bring in a document. And I'm going to say summarize this entire document for me. Or you could say analyze this document. Let me know if this information is in this document, or whatever it is that you might need it to do with a specific file. Now, since this is kind of a continuation, I'm going to go ahead and click the paperclip icon down at the bottom of the chat. I'm going to click the paperclip so that I can navigate out to my computer and add in a file. So I'm going to go into my project management. I'm going to go into some communication, and I'm going to add in this Word document. Oops, file is in use. That's because I have that file open. Sorry about that. It says, hey, wait a second, I can't open it if you've got it open. Okay, so I closed it. So now I'm going to go ahead and have it open it. So basically what it's going to do is it has this document so that whatever it is that we're going to ask it about the document, it's going to have it there so it can analyze that document. So I'm going to put in a message and I'm going to say summarize this document. So it can analyze the document, and depending on your document, it may take a minute or so for it to analyze it. Usually it starts the analysis when you attach it. Otherwise, it will do it once you start prompting it with different questions about the actual file. Okay. I could say, give me 5 bullets of a summarization. Make it 5 bulleted items of summarization. So maybe I didn't want those big paragraphs. Maybe I just want a couple of bulleted items that it's going to help me to summarize this instead. So now it's doing that. So if we think about how powerful this tool is, it can analyze just about anything that you give it. Now, I have had some difficulties with a few different PDF files on it analyzing those PDF files, but a Word document, a PowerPoint presentation, an Excel file, or even Google Sheets and things like that, it works with those wonderfully. I've not run into any issues whatsoever. But we could use it for so many different things. So let me give you a few more examples. What if, and let me kind of go back to this landscaping company. Let's say that I need to actually create a SWOT analysis for my landscaping business ideas. I'm going to start a brand new chat just so you can kind of see how powerful this ChatGPT tool can be. But the key to this is make sure you're starting a new chat. If it's totally a different topic, don't continue with that same conversation. Always start with a new one, so it has fresh things that it's working with, and it's not trying to think of, oh well, you were just talking about communication and now you want me to do this. So you want to make sure that you're doing a brand new one each time. So it's coming up with some different things. So the original option was I wanted to create a SWOT analysis for my landscaping business idea. So it's going to come up with some strengths, some weaknesses, some opportunities, and some threats, which is part of your SWOT analysis. So it's pretty cool that that can help me analyze. So especially if I were starting a brand new business, or let's say we want to expand our business. And when we first started, it was 20 years ago, and now we need to kind of be rethinking. We have to have things be more modern and, analyze it based on what's happening in this industry as of today. We might need to go back and say, okay, in 2023, what was the most common plant that was purchased in my area? And we could be asking it things like that. So think about your business and think about the things that you could be using ChatGPT specifically for. And another thing to do when it comes to your business, by the way, think about your different departments. How could your HR department use this tool? Your accounting department, your marketing department, your sales department, your executive committee, whatever your departments are within your organization, think about some ways that that department could be utilizing it. What I have had a lot of my customers do is we have a brainstorming with a couple of the people that contact me basically, and we go through, this is what it is, this is what it can do, but be cautious of these things. And then we kind of say, okay, here's your departments. Let's get the managers of those departments or the directors of those departments in a meeting and start talking about, okay, in your department, here's some things you could be using it for. You could be using it for this. We can slowly open up this application to different departments. A lot of times we start with the IT department because of the security side of this. We want to, between HR and IT are usually the two departments that start using this application the most. Then we can write policies and procedures on how we want the rest of the organization to start using ChatGPT. So let me give you a couple of other examples. Let's say that I want to generate a marketing plan for my new landscaping company. Once again, totally new topic. So I'm going to put in generate a marketing plan for my new landscaping company. So it can do just about anything that you're going to prompt it to do. It helps me to write letters, emails. It helps me to write social media posts. It even can help me generate an image to use in my marketing or to use with my social media post. And I'll do an example of the image here in just a second. But you can see that it's coming up with some, here's market research. It's breaking it down based on branding. It's breaking it down on marketing goals, your marketing strategies, your sales strategies. So this is something that I personally would take and say, okay, how is flyers and postcards going to help me? How is it going to help me to have partnerships with other organizations? Well, my partnership in a landscaping is huge because I could be selling my plants, especially if I have my own field of plants and then we're bringing them into the store and selling them. We could also be selling them to other stores. So you have to kind of take whatever your business happens to be and just kind of take it through these different analysis that it's giving you for these prompts and say, okay, let's take this a little bit further and let's ask it some more. So we can ask it more about how would we put together a pricing strategy? How would we put together a social media platform? So I'm going to ask it, how could we use LinkedIn to let people know, oops, I got to spell this correctly, let people know about our new landscaping company. So we can be using it for any aspect of your organization. I've even used it with helping to do, because I had a client of mine that was going to be going in and they wanted to update their entire organization. They were going to be expanding in different things, and they needed to go into their financial institute and talk to them. We used ChatGPT to get some ideas on what it is that they could provide to that bank to let them know these are what we're planning on doing, and here's some ways to say it, and different things like that. But it's coming back with anything that you might need. So it's talking about creating a professional company page, publish engaging content. It could even help you write the content if you give it what you want it to do. But I do want to demonstrate how it can generate an image. So I'm going to start a brand new chat, and I'm going to ask it to create let me do a logo. Create a logo for my new landscaping company. Now I'm going to leave it just generic like that. Created logo for my new landscaping company. Do I have something specific that I am selling? Do I specialize in house plants? Do I specialize in trees? What do I have, like landscaping materials? I didn't give it any of that. So what it's coming back with is it says to create a logo for your new company, I need a bit more information. So right away it's telling you, hey, you didn't give me a good enough prompt with being able to generate this. So let's get into some more details. But the best part is it's going to help you. So maybe we're going to be, and I could give it the company name. So Trees for the Future is a city. I want to let it know that I'm in the city, is in the city of, I'm going to say Madison, Wisconsin, that sells oak trees. So just so you can see, I can help narrow it down. Now I could be saying, these are the colors I wanted to use. Here's the font I wanted to use. I could give it a tagline and all kinds of different things. So it's going to come back and, we have to kind of get into a little bit more here, but it would be able to come back and give us some type of an idea once we provided enough information. So just so you know, it could do that. Otherwise, I could say, create an image of an oak tree with a person reading a book. So whatever you're looking for your marketing material, for, a newsletter that you're putting out, you're going to need something for your website, whatever it might be. ChatGPT, as long as you're giving it the right prompt, the right information, it can help you to generate. So translating languages, helping you to write anything for your accounting department, your marketing department, your HR department, it can be fantastic. So here's the first image that it came back with. That's pretty good image. I like that. Let me have it change to a woman on a bench, just so you could see that the more you provide it to give it that detail, it's going to come back and be able to do that. I could even say, make it an apple tree and put a couple of green apples, or, red apples, or I could say Macintosh apples, whatever I tell it, it would be able to actually add that in. We could say add in a lake behind it, or whatever that case would be. I could say add a little dog that is sitting on the ground next to her, or, those types of things as well. Haley, did we have a question from the group?
We did. Thank you, Jillian. A quick question from Maya talking about trademarks. Do we take that into consideration when it's giving us images? Do you know anything about that?
Right. It isn't something that you're going to be able to take and sell it for money. So
Okay.
they do have a specific copyright behind them, and you can look up the fine details on that. You want to make sure that you're, tagging it and saying this is AI generated. I always do a caption. I add that caption to say that this is an AI generated image, and
Okay,
you're going to want to
perfect.
do that.
And
Absolutely.
sorry, just a follow-up question. Does
Yes,
it pull from other images like Microsoft? Can it pull their logo and then take it kind of thing?
it
Maya,
can.
please clarify if you have any further questions. Sorry if I'm not getting the quite right there.
Yes, it can actually take an existing image. And there's tools that are built in that, depending on the version that you have, though, of ChatGPT, you need to have the latest version and the turbo version. It's going to actually be able to take out a background and replace it with a different background. Like if I had a background that was a building and I want to take out that building and have it be a countryside, with this new Dolly 3, we have the capabilities of having it do anything you need. You can put in an existing icon and have it add things to the background or have it change a part of the icon, etc. So it's pretty smart.
Okay, sounds good. I'm actually curious as well, so maybe I'll look up some more information on that and I can share that with you, Maya, if I find anything, okay?
Yes, as a matter of fact, if you already have an image, just do the paperclip, add the image in, and then tell it what you want it to change. You may need to add in a GPT to help you analyze it a little bit better, a little bit further. But I'm going to tell you the latest versions, I've been seeing all kinds of things that are updated with images. It's pretty cool.
Okay,
I've
thanks,
actually
Jolyn.
seen, I saw someone actually take an image that they had, I forgot what the image was of, but they actually did the removal of the background and put different backgrounds. And they said, have it change it to be, I forgot what type of image they needed it to be, change the look of the image. I'm not a photographer. They said change it to be this type of a image. I don't know what it was, but it's pretty cool. You got to remember this is AI, artificial intelligence. Intelligence is the key to that. This program is extremely smart and it gets smarter every day because it's continuously being taught more and more updated information. But just to show you a couple of other business related things, I'm going to start a new chat. And what if we need to hire a new employee? And I'm going to need so I'm going to say our business is in Colorado. Oh, oops, sorry, I can't spell today. In Colorado, and we need to hire a truck driver to deliver our trees for our landscaping company. What requirements do they need? So we can have it say, okay, I need to know what the law is for this. I need to know what the regulations are. I need to know what I can or I can't do. It can go out and provide information. You can even ask it, where did your information come from? And it can give you links to the websites, especially if you're going to be having it find you things like a hotel, airfare. It's going to automatically apply those websites so that you can actually go directly in them. So it brings back the information that I need. I could continue this conversation though, and because what if so what questions could could I ask during an interview oops, sorry, interview for this position? So it knows to stay on topic with that truck driver that is going to be delivering the trees for us. It's going to stay on topic because I'm in that same conversation. Okay. But there are some things. So just to give you a few examples, you got to kind of test it, kind of figure out what prompts are going to work best for you. Feed it as much information as you possibly can in your prompt so that it's giving you the best results. But thinking through the potential dangers of this application, keep in mind it can give you misleading or misinformation. Always verify. Put things into your own words. Never put anything confidential in that. It doesn't take away jobs, it only enhances jobs. It doesn't have empathy. So if we're asking it for specific information, it's not going to understand how the human touch or the human feelings would be. So keep that in mind. Lack of accountability, difficulty in identifying, manipulation. You have to be kind of careful with that. But other things to be careful with is if you're going to let your employees be using this system, this application, and you're going to do the enterprise version or whatever the case might be, have some guidelines. Kind of meet with your IT department, think about the security side. Do you have a risk officer? Get people together that you need to get together and say, okay, this is how we want to use this app within our department, within our organization. It's just like having an email policy within your company. Have a policy for using ChatGPT as well. Okay. It will keep you safe. Okay. But definitely read through the handout that you were provided because there's lots of good information in that handout. I can't cover absolutely every word that was in the handout. It's a good reference tool for you to use for after our session. So if you don't already have an account, go ahead and get one set up. Any final questions from anyone for today, Haley?
Nothing at the moment. If anyone has any final questions, we are almost at 12 o'clock. Wow, that hour just flew right
I
by.
know.
If you have
It did.
anything to ask Jolynn or myself about Smart Dolphins, feel free to pop it into the chat.